the average man doesn't feel like he has one best friend. And they were talking about this kind of effect of how things have been so divided over the last few years, and how men specifically, because we're kind of by nature, in a sense, a little bit of like a lone wolf.
Yeah.
Like, I got to figure this out. I don't really share my emotions. I got to fight through this. It's my thing. I got to figure out. Like, I do think that's part of who we are as men. We started this show because
Spencer and Anthony.
It's crazy how loyal
you guys were thirsty for some
one of the encouraging men to be the best version. Ask us anything.
Welcome to the Beardsmen.
That is a good question.
You know, you got 14 hours, let's say, a little bit burnt out, unmotivated.
Week, not their birthday.
I gotta extend it.
Welcome to the Beardsmen, the show where we talk, mock, and never walk away from the conversation. I'm here with the Beardsmen, a.k.a. the founders of Live Bearded, Spencer and Anthony.
What's up, guys? My name is Spencer.
And my name is Mink. As JR said, we're the founders here at Live Bearded. And we started this show because over the 7 years we've ran Live Bearded, our favorite thing to do is have conversations with our community. And I feel like we've met so many incredible dudes, had so many incredible conversations, that we wanted to start a show where we can literally answer your questions, bring the conversation to you, and talk about the experience of being a man in the crazy world we live in today.
It sure is crazy. That's right, guys. We are passionate about encouraging men to be the best versions of themselves. That's why we created this podcast. It's an Ask Us Anything. Literally, nothing is off the table. Personal development, mindset, business, Live Bearded behind the scenes, fitness stuff, travel, whatever you guys want to know, throw them up and we're gonna answer them. How can they get those questions to us, JR?
They can get those questions to us by emailing us at ask@livebearded.com, or you can put them in the comments below and we can get them that way. But send us an email. It's more fun.
Make them creative. And remember, there's no stupid questions.
Just stupid people.
That ask questions.
Yeah. You guys went to San Diego recently. How was
Yeah.
that trip?
Yeah.
It's great.
What did you think, Spence?
San Diego's great. We're in a mastermind group with a bunch of e-commerce business owners, and it's amazing to get in a room full of people that are just so willing to share. Like, we shared what's working on our end, they're sharing what's working on their end, what's not working, how we're getting our asses kicked in certain areas.
Yeah.
And it's cool just to be around a group of people that are willing to support and
Yeah.
share. So
I got a good story to share. I think this is relevant. So this is like I check into the hotel and I paid like an extra $100 for an upgraded room, right? And I get into the upgraded room and I'm like, like probably wasn't worth the upgrade, you know? And I'm like, that kind of sucks. So then anyways, we're leaving and I walk by the front desk and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ask them if they have another room available. So I walk up and I'm like, hey, you know, I got this, I paid for the upgrade, the view, you know, it's like not that great. I'm kind of looking, whatever. Do you have any other rooms you could put me in? And the lady's like, oh, let me take a look. You know, she looks, she's like, oh, we're fully booked. But I have one extra room that's the same class I can put you in, but it'll be ready in like 3 hours. I was like, cool, no problem. Like, I'll just check back then. I was already checked into my room, so it was like, no skin off my back. So I go back a few hours later, and I'm like, hey, I just want to see if my room's ready. She's like, oh, yeah, 1 second. And then she goes in the back. Like 5 minutes later, she comes out. She's like, I have some bad news. We don't have that room available for you, but I can put you in this other room. I was like, okay, that's cool. So she logs into the system, and then she's like, oh, shit. Just a minute. And she goes in the back, and then she comes back, and she's like, I can't put you in that room either. I was like, that's fine, no problem. Like, I totally appreciate it. Honestly, the room, it's like, I just figured I would ask. It's no big deal. And she's like, no, I want to take care of you. I told you we were going to put you in another room. We don't have any more rooms available of that class, so I'm going to put you in a suite.
Ooh.
And she put me in like this real big fancy suite. And I was thinking about it. I was like, why did that happen? Because A, I just had the courage to ask. And B, I was just nice to people. I was like, yeah, no problem. Like, whatever work. You know, I was like, I think in that moment where like someone is like, oh yeah, no problem. Oh, sorry, that's not available. But I got this other one. Oh, that's not available. Let me, you know what I mean? Like oftentimes people would just like get upset, get frustrated, be like, well, you said this or you said that, or, you know, and I was just nice. I was kind and I just asked. And I feel like everywhere I go, good shit happens to me because I'm nice and I just ask people. And I just thought that was a really good example of like, I think the world needs more people that have the courage to ask and also that are just kind to people and lead with compassion and kindness, I think. So totally random, not relevant to the podcast at all. But when you asked about San Diego, that was the first thing I thought of because I had this dope ass room. That was like no extra expense. Nice view. I had my own fire pit.
Yeah.
It
was relevant to the podcast because I asked how San Diego was.
Sure.
And that,
Full
yeah.
Yeah.
ties in.
But
Yeah.
the conference was great. Yeah, I think to Spence's point, We've been a part of this entrepreneur community. It's only e-commerce business owners for about 5 years. And it's like everybody that goes there, they're running very, very successful businesses, like businesses that are doing 7, 8, and 9 figures. So very successful companies. My buddy Ezra puts it on, and his business does close to 100 million in sales. So you're in this room and you're just like around these people that are very intelligent, very smart, and you're sharing ideas and strategies and talking about life and the challenges of being a business owner. And like, I think the most powerful thing we can do as men is get around a group of like-minded individuals that have similar goals and values and share what we're working on and have a peer group to problem solve, to strategize, to hold us accountable. I mean, obviously that's really what we're doing here with the Beardsmen, is sharing that experience of being a man and how we can hold each other accountable. But in every area of life, if you're married, like get together with a group of 5 men that are also married, that want to really invest in their relationships and that want to be the best fathers and talk about strategies and how you can do that. Read books together, or business or fitness or whatever. I think especially since COVID, like COVID made us so divided and we spent so much time by ourselves. I think now more than ever, like people need to come together and create these little micro communities. And I think you just have to ask people. You just have to seek it out. It's weird. We were at another conference in Florida, and this was like 2 or 3 months ago. And one of the things he said is like, you need to have running mates in business. You need to have running mates that you're like, you know, that you have this peer group with essentially. And he was like really emphasizing it. And I was like, man, who are my running mates, you know? And of course, like my team, but beyond that, on like a more personal level, like who can I strategize with or share with? And I was like, man, like I have so many great friends and incredibly successful people, but like how intentional am I being at seeking them out and creating connection or staying in touch or building like some type of a routine into the conversation, or this like a space where we connect on a regular basis. And I was like, man, I'm not doing it as much as I would like. I spend a lot of time just like working and going home and working out. Like I need to make time for this. And I think it's something that if we're not intentional about doing, it's never going to happen.
It's easy to neglect it, right?
Yeah.
And we all grew up playing sports. And it's like, how great was it when you're on a sports team and you're high-fiving, you're celebrating, but you're also in the trenches together, learning through, you know, the tough practices, everything else. As we level up level up the game through business, like the same thing is applied. Like build your team around you, not only your internal team, but other people that you can celebrate and share with, and that are in the trenches themselves. Because there's so much knowledge to be shared and learned through that.
I don't know where I heard this, but I recently heard it, and it was like the average man doesn't feel like he has one best friend. He feels like he's got a lot of acquaintances and people that he knows, but he doesn't have like one person that he feels like is like going to be there that he can turn to if he needs something. And they were talking about this kind of effect of how things have been so divided over the last few years, and how men specifically, because we're kind of by nature, in a sense, a little bit of like a lone wolf. Like, I got to figure this out. I don't really share my emotions. I got to fight through this. It's my thing. I got to figure out. Like, I do think that's part of who we are as men. But coming together in a community, I think, is the most powerful thing that we can do. And so,
that's been one of the things that we've been so intentional for Live Bearded since day one, is how can we bring men together into community where we're like high value men with high standards, and we're surrounding ourselves with great quality people. And that's why when we started Live Bearded off the back of a Facebook group and community, because it's so true. When you're in middle school or high school, you have all these friends. You go to college, your friend group splits up. And then post-college, you get jobs and move across the country. And then you get girlfriends or wives, and then families start, and you just get like splintered off to where now you're in your 30s. And it's like, well, fuck, like my friend group has dwindled down so much smaller than what it used to be. And to your point about not having that super tight group, I think it's essential for men to have other men that they can learn from and be in battle with.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because I think it comes in all shapes and sizes, you know. I've got a buddy, and he's very successful. I mean, runs a mortgage company, makes lots of money, like high 6 figures, low 7 figures in selling mortgages. And we were having this conversation, and then I have another buddy who literally is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And they both had the same conversation with me. Like, it's so hard to find a group of men that I'm aligned with, that believe what I believe, and that I feel like I can be myself around. And so I think it doesn't matter what area you're in, if you're low income, high income, if you're like wherever you're at in life, it just takes work. And we have to do that. And I think we're getting long-winded here on this topic, but I'm okay with it because
Super
I think
important.
it's very, very important. The quality of our life is the quality of our emotions and our relationships. And, you know, at times I feel very like alone, not in a bad way, but just because I spend so much time like going through, like working through things and doing, and so I don't know, it's just important to me. And I've realized this being 37, to your exact point, like all of my best friends, I'm the single one out of all my friends now, and they're married or they have kids on the way. And I'm like, wow, this is so interesting because I used to be able to call anybody up and have dinner tonight. And now it's like, hey,
Put it on the
Spence,
calendar.
hey, Jay, like, when are you free? Oh, next Thursday. I'm like, okay, shit. Like, this is so different.
So
and I don't think life prepares us for this as men. And it's easy to feel alone or fragmented. And I think we just have to like find community and intentionally put energy into it. And that is one of the reasons why Live Bearded has become what it is, for sure.
Mink, is this your way of asking the listeners to come have dinner with you randomly over the podcast?
Definitely not. I love you guys. If you're in town, come by the office, say hello. We'd love to chop it up for sure. But no.
And maybe he'll be free for dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe he'll be
Might
free. No, I get what you mean, though. Yeah, it is crazy because you start out in high school, tons of friends. Oh, it's weird. When you're in high school, it's all about, or at least for me, it was all about like friends, like not really family at all.
And like groups of friends.
Groups of friends, having the most friends. It's like Pokemon. You got to catch them all, but they're friends. And then you graduate high school, you go to college, and then all of a sudden you're like adults now doing like adult things. And like your friend group doesn't expand, but it changes and it shifts to a different group. And you still try to get a lot of people, but you're more like collecting like the new experiences without the adult supervision. But then you graduate college and now it's splintered. It's gone unless they come with you to the city that you moved to or something, like,
or they evolve
contact
with you to the new version of yourself that you're ascending to, right? Because if you have big goals and dreams and aspirations and you're learning and growing and challenging yourself, you're going to outpace some of your high school friends who are just stuck in their, you know, they are comfortable in their lives and their jobs. They don't have big goals. You naturally will kind of grow outside of those relationships. And that's perfectly, it's natural and it's part of the process. If you're learning and growing and evolving, you're going to lose some of those friends. And I remember when I was in college, in post-college, I started recognizing that. And it was like, well, I've known these guys for decades, but it's like, I can't relate. And there's a certain point where you raise your standards. Like, I don't want to spend my time with them because we're on different levels, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah. Yeah. To wrap this little tangent up, I think it's cliche, and it's cliche because it's true, but they say, you know, you're the sum total of your 5 closest friends, both in your success financially, in your relationships, in your parenting, in your health. So our peer group is actually a reflection of who we are and who we're going to become. And so finding people that want to grow, that are excelling, that are where you want to be, and finding ways to get around them. I think the only shortcut in life is going to someone who has what you want and asking them how they got it, and then learning from them. Yeah. Everybody wants an easy button in life, but the only easy button I know is like, hey man, you have an amazing marriage and you're a great father. Like, I'm about ready to get married and have a kid. What should I do? What are the top 5 things you would let me know? And then ask 10 people that. Man, there's a lifetime of advice and experience right there.
Speaking of lifetime advice and experiences, some people have submitted questions to us.
All right, what do we
Let's get in
got?
it. All right, what do we got?
All right, the first question we have is from Jerome. Jerome asks, how do you get motivated for difficult tasks?
How do you do it, JR?
How do I do it? I have... It's a mentality of kind of hating yourself a little bit. It's just like I have to do it kind of thing. It happens a lot with editing videos. I really like editing video, but I hate the first 5 minutes prior to editing video and the first 5 minutes into editing, which is just kind of like there's this hill that you got to get over. And then after that, like once I'm in the zone, then it's all just like downhill after that. And it goes super fast, but it's that like just initial start.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I know if I can just get through the first 5 minutes, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're chunking it down.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Have you guys ever been cliff jumping? I mean, I know you have.
Yeah.
So the worst thing you can do when you're cliff jumping is go out to the edge and then just stare down, right? Because you're going to literally pause and you're going to talk yourself out. What the fuck am I doing? Is there a log down there? Like you're going to hesitate and then you're not going to take action.
But I mean, you should hesitate if you're wondering if there's a
Have
log
somebody
down
check
there.
the water, be safe, obviously, right? But to me, like if I'm jumping off of something high, I'm just sending it, because if I don't get going and just jump, I will literally stand there and talk myself out of it. And so I relate that to just taking massive action. I feel like if there's a big daunting task or something I don't want to do, for me, if I can take that first step, if I can jump and just get started, to your point, that momentum then builds, because the hardest thing to do is to start. It's not going to be perfect, whatever it is, but if you can start and then just carry that momentum when you realize, I think that first step is the hardest thing to do. And then once you have that momentum, it's easier to see it through and finish it. So for me, if there's something daunting or challenging, I just try to commit right away and not allow time, because then you're going to fucking talk yourself out of it. You're going to find a million different excuses. So like whatever the biggest task is at hand, I like to do things first thing, and like to start my day on the hardest thing, so I know that's done, and then everything else is kind of downhill from there. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah, I think for me, I start like I'm trying to figure out, okay, why do I need to do this? Like, what is the intention behind it? If it's something small, like I have to sit down and I have to write out an email campaign, and I'm like, fuck. To your point of like that first 5 minutes, like I don't know where to start. This is like a big project, da 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 da. Okay, well, what is the end result, and like why do I really need to do this? So on that level, and then I convince myself of the end result. So I get more associated to what the outcome of the action is going to be versus just focusing on the action itself, if that makes sense. And this is like a very stupid, silly example, but I do the ice bath every morning, you know, and I'll find myself procrastinating, like, oh, let me do the dishes real fast. I'm like, there's fucking one dish in the sink and it's 4 a.m. Why do I don't need to do dishes right now. But I just like, my brain will be like, oh, you should do this. Or, oh, like go, like your bed's not made or whatever. Like I find myself naturally distracting myself away from the thing that I don't want to do. And I think all of us experience that at some point in time. Something comes up, we unintentionally, but kind of intentionally are distracting ourselves. And then I'll just be like, okay, you're 3 minutes and you're done. 5 minutes and you're done. On the other side of this, you're going to feel great. So I'm always focusing on the experience or the way that I'm going to feel after it, rather than the feeling of not wanting to start. And then, okay, once I'm done with it, then, you know what I mean? And so I just jump right into it.
I totally relate to that, putting other things ahead of it, because it's just like a lot of people. This is why I don't think I have ADD, because they say that's an ADD activity where you do a bunch of different activities along the way to do the thing that you're wanting to do, but you're using distraction. I know that I'm distracting myself by like doing the dishes, or I got to take my dogs out to use the bathroom, or like just because I don't want to do this like
difficult thing.
I don't want to do the
totally
difficult
natural.
thing.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like for me using this example of the ice bath, like when I'm out of the bath, I'm so cold. Like I don't want to have to like brush my teeth or do anything. I just want to get like dried off, get like rinse off, and then go straight out the door. So I'm like, okay, did I pack my clothes for the gym? Did I brush my teeth? Like I literally have a checklist, and I'm like trying to run through them in my head because I want that to be the last thing I do before I leave.
Yep.
And then that's where I get like, oh, well, did I? And I'm kind of like, and then I'm finally like, bro, just go fucking do it. Like, and I think we have to have that kind of awareness to understand when we're distracting ourselves from the task at hand. But I think for me, the best way to approach a difficult task is to just focus on why you know you must do it, and then just get started.
Thanks.
Those were
Was
all
that
great
Jerome?
answers. Yeah, Jerome.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Next question we have is from Bill. Bill asked, do you have any mentors or people you look up to?
Yeah, I mean, tons. 100%. I have people that I look up to. So I think the best thing, going back to the conversation we started with about like peer groups, I think the best thing we can do is have people in every area of our life that we look up to. So fitness, I have people that I look up to. Health,
100%.
Wellness, that's all the same thing. Relationships, I have people I look up to, like, wow, I would love to have a relationship like them one day. I think, again, if we don't have a model for success or a direction that we want to go, then any path will lead us in any direction. And so I think the best thing that we can do is say, okay, this is the type of like health and vitality and body I want to have. Who do I know that has that? Let me model what their behavior is. Business, finances, relationships, etc. So I think, you know, they say health, wealth, and relationships are the three most important areas of our life. I think each of us should have a mentor or someone we look up to in those three areas of our life at minimum. And we should read their books. We should learn from them. We should watch their content, because just that foundation of knowledge that they're sharing is going to help us improve that area of our life.
I agree with that. I think super spot on there. Finding people that are crushing it in that area. Like I've got the guys that I follow for the gym to get inspiration for workouts or whatever. You can go on and on about business, the Hermoses of the world, and the different people that you can absorb their content to kind of challenge yourself and grow on the business side. When I was sitting here thinking about it, I was like, I have all of these people that I follow and tune into and learn from, and they're kind of siloed in each of those departments. I don't know that I have anyone that I look up to that has like a dream life for what I'm trying to build for myself. They're crushing it in business, but they have a fucking world-class, amazing relationship with their wife and family and kids, because that's super valuable to me. And their health and wellness is top-notch, because I feel like there's some people I follow that are like all in the health and wellness or all in the business and stuff. And so I'm trying to think if there's one person that like across the board is like, that guy's fucking got it, and I want to model what he's doing. So I don't know if, I think Andy Elliott's maybe a good example of that. I've been following his content a little bit more lately. But the other thing I was thinking is, like for me, I think when you look at some of these big name people of influence that have these massive followings or massive success, I think it's more relatable sometimes to try to find people that aren't a billionaire today, but it's like they're on that journey and they're a little bit more relatable, because I can see myself in their shoes. They're maybe 10 years ahead of me or 15 years ahead of me, but they're chunking it down to where it's like a little bit more obtainable for me to believe like, yeah, I can see the steps for me to kind of accomplish that and kind of follow in that path. So for whatever that's worth, that's kind of how I look at it.
Who are a couple people fitness-wise, just like to actually share some names of the people that you look up to?
Yeah. Knees Over Toes has been game-changing for me because I've had knee surgery. So he's just like world-class in like building the knee, protecting the knee. He's been great. And then Marcus Philly is phenomenal. I think he's good functional bodybuilding. I buy his program just to kind of support him and like tune into what he's doing. But he's all about functional fitness meets kind of mobility meets bodybuilding aesthetics. So he's got great content and really educational. But those guys are fantastic.
Nice. Anybody on relationships that you follow?
I like Andy Elliott a lot because the way he has like this like no nonsense, like he's all about sales and his team, and he's very inspiring. He's also very health and wellness because he's his clip. He refuses to hire anyone that doesn't have a six-pack. I'm sure you saw some of that content. He's great, but he always very much puts his wife and his relationship first. And when I really bought into what his message was about was when I heard through some of his community members, has a hard line in the sand about infidelities and loyalty to relationships and partnerships. And that like really resonated and hit hard, that he really stands that firm in his relationship with his wife. And we were at the PBD conference there out in Miami, and to see them traveling together and the life they've created together really resonates with me and how I want to show up as a husband and as a father. So I think he's a good example, but I don't know offhand if there's who else there might be, but looking for that for sure.
Yeah.
Michael asked, what's an underrated skill everyone can benefit from?
Underrated.
I feel like we mentioned this in an earlier episode with like episode 1 or 2.
I mean, I immediately go to discipline because I feel like with discipline, you can learn any skill, or I don't know if that's underrated though, because I feel like that's pretty talked about and pretty recognized. So are we trying to go?
I mean, I feel like it depends on who you're talking to or who you're listening to.
Yeah.
Because there's a few people that we listen to that are all about it.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's that many people that are actually like living it.
Yeah.
Or even just outside of the bubble that we're in, Goggins and Elliott and like a lot of these people that really preach that. I think discipline for sure, whether it's underrated or not, I think it's something that I didn't fully understand the power of it until literally the last maybe year of my life. And I think when you can develop the muscle of discipline to do what you said you're going to do, it unlocks your ability to do everything else. I actually think that is the single most important character trait someone must develop in their life if they want to create a life on their terms, whatever that might be. And then with that, I think, we have so many distractions in the world today. Everyone is trying to monetize our attention. The largest companies in the world, Google, Facebook, Apple, here's something that's very interesting. I heard someone say this. They said, if there's any service that you can use for free, you are the product. Your attention is the product. And I feel like that's so true. and we live in the attention economy. And so our attention is the most valuable resource that we have, and where we invest it determines our experience of life. Are we investing into fucking Netflix shows and Instagram reels and like all this shit? Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but where your focus and energy goes, that's ultimately the foundation of the life that you're going to have. And so I think discipline and then I think focus for me, I mean, those are the two areas that I'm spending the most time on right now in really managing. How do I manage my discipline every day so I'm doing what I said I need to do? The only way to do that is to very diligently manage where I'm putting my focus and my energy, because I want to do a lot of things in my life. I want to experience a lot of things. I want to create different experiences for myself, success in my business. And I think oftentimes when we just go through the motions of life, life takes us where it wants us to go, not where we want to go. But discipline for sure, focus. Those are the first two that come to mind for me.
And to me, it's discipline because I feel like, all right, if you want to learn a skill or whatever, it's like how you excel or learn, or like if you're trying to, I mean, really take it, you can apply it to anything. If you're trying to become a better basketball player, right, and you're going to practice twice a week versus having the discipline to get up every day and put in the 3 hours every day, that compound effort is what's going to help you surpass the competition. Same things in business, same thing in relationship. Doing what you say you're going to do and putting in the work just requires massive discipline. In the world we live in today, it's like we're so distracted and pulled in so many different directions that being able to put the blinders on, focus, and just stay in your lane is fucking hard.
What's like an old school character trait or skill that we used to have that we don't have anymore because of modern technology? Like,
I think work. I go to like work ethic and output.
But like memory, right?
Yeah.
No one remembers anything now because it's in a phone.
Oh yeah,
Like
you
a
don't
phone
have to remember numbers.
or things like that. Being able to grill a really great steak is an underrated skill
that every man should have.
I don't. Okay, I won't say that. It is a skill. I don't think that's a very hard skill to learn because it's pretty hard to mess up a steak or a burger.
Depends on what your
What your standards or
the first
expectations
3
are, I
or
guess.
4 you do, like they're gonna be bad. But after that, like if you focus, like just don't overcook it. Get the marks on it, salt and pepper. If you use A1 sauce, you're a terrible person. You're terrible.
The only other place I go is like follow through. I don't know if this would go to discipline, but you think about like doing what you say you're going to do and following through on things. I feel like I'm guilty of it. If you pile too many things on or you don't see things to the finish line, you start something and you don't actually see it through, and then you're going on to the next project or the next idea or whatever, and you have all these great things that none of them get completed. Like how much time is wasted on the ideation process and starting these things if you're not actually seeing them through?
Yeah, that reminded me of what I was going to say.
There we go.
Perfect. I think a really underappreciated skill is just being your fucking self.
There you go.
Like being your own authentic, genuine self. So often I think in the world today, because we're so concerned about opinions and perspectives of other people, follows, shares, like because of the fuckery that is social media, which is great in so many ways, but it's toxic in so many other ways. The people I admire the most are the people that just don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks, and they are their self. No matter how wild or quirky or weird or whatever it is, if you see someone and you can just tell they're authentically themselves, I think that's such an underrated, and I say underrated skill because very few people have it or live by it. But when you see someone that is just free, man, I think it's like, it's inspiring for me.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And with social media and the way that it is, it's like this highlight reel of life. People, when you see people traveling to places or doing things or acting away or literally living their life for the perceived opinion of their life.
Yeah.
And they're not actually themselves at all because they're living for the likes and the engagement and everything else.
Yeah.
It's fucking sad.
Well, going back to, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just agreeing with that. I hate social media influencers.
Yeah.
Just because it's just a lie. Like it's all a lie. Yeah. Like I totally understand social media's purpose, and like we work in social media. That's how we make money. But like we're selling a product that's gonna add value. Yes, it costs money. It's a product. Like that's a normal exchange. But when you see these influencers, like taking pictures on the beach or doing like these certain angles. Like I know the camera tricks that they do to make things look bigger and better than they actually are. And it's just this awful perception that it gives people because now everyone's measuring something up to something that is impossible to achieve. Like it doesn't, whether it's like body image or even just like a certain lifestyle of wealth, like they're like Jake Paul and Logan Paul, like, yeah, they can afford Lamborghinis, but so many people just like a bunch of influencers, they'll buy it at Lamborghini or rent it for a day. And then they'll just take a bunch of pictures and they're just showing this lifestyle like, hey, came from the ghetto. Like, no, you were just smart. You guys rented it for a day. You should have just told that story because that would have been more inspiring. That would have been fun.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to San Diego, right? We just got back from this conference and I got to do a presentation on kind of where we're at. And so many people came up to me afterwards and thanked me for my talk because I was real about where we were at. And I had this point in the talk where I was like, you know, year over year, we're up 25%. And if I wanted to sell you some shit, I wouldn't tell you anything else. But the truth is that doesn't actually paint the full picture. And then I talked about some of the challenges that we've had and how the actual profitability of the business is down a little bit while like sales are up and, you know, because of inflation and some factors and some different things that took place. And everybody came, like so many people came up to me and was like, thank you for being honest. Because most people that get up and talk in front of a conference of people only want to highlight how amazing everything's going. And the fact that I was like honest about the challenges that we've had this year in the business and how we've worked through some of those, it was very refreshing to people. And that was me just being like authentic, like here's what's going on and like here's the good and here's the shit and like here's how we're working through it. Most people just want to highlight the good. They want to hide the shit and they want to act like everything is good. And I think maybe in modern world, the most underappreciated skill is the ability to just be your fucking self because it's who you are, it's who you want to be, it's how you want to live and not give a fuck about what anybody else thinks. If you can do that, I think that's the foundation of truth. And then you can build anything from that. Then you can build a discipline, you can build a focus, you can build the things. But as we talk through it, I think that might be the most important part of our experience of life is just being our authentic self.
I think people are drawn to that because we're so exposed to all this highlight reel, like overinflation of reality.
Yeah.
That if you can be real, like people will be drawn to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do.
It's like Oliver Anthony when he blew up, when he played that song. That felt very
raw
real to
and
everyone.
real as it could be.
Yeah.
And it caught.
Yeah. Maybe one of my favorite compliments we get when people come to the office is like, oh, you guys are just like on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
Like,
just some fucking regular dudes hanging out. Like,
but how many times have we heard that? Like
over and
countless
over.
times. Like, I'm so excited to meet you guys. Like, it's just exactly the way that I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and to me, that means we're doing what we're talking about here, which is just like being ourselves and putting ourselves out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think it is actually very inspiring to people because the unrealistic side of things, like you're talking about, give this false sense of reality, and it makes all of us feel like we're not good enough, like we're less than. But we're all struggling with the same things in our own lives in different ways, and just being open about that, I think, is powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
100.
Keep it 100,
Keep it
bro.
100.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of underrated skills right there.
There we go.
But I
We
think
just
it all
unpacked a
boiled
few.
down to just being authentic and not
I like that one.
being a good person and
So I
being
think
authentic.
disciplined people know they should. Being authentic, people are just conditioned to not.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little more underrated.
If you're a bad person, though, like maybe you shouldn't be authentic. Like maybe try to hide that. But if you're a good person, please be authentic. We need more of you in the world. Well, that's all the questions that we have for our
Sweet.
community. We ready to move on to Do Better Dude?
Yeah, guys, if you're listening, we have a segment for you, Do Better Dude of the Week. This is where we just dig into the old interwebs and find a dude who's out there making a positive impact. Because let's be honest, when you turn on social media or the news, there's a lot of shit out there. So
It's a lie.
It's a lie. Smoke and
lie.
mirrors. So we want to highlight somebody doing some cool shit, and we got somebody, or maybe two. Last week we had two. So what do we got this week, JR?
This week we got yeah. I guess it actually is two people.
Oh,
It is two people.
You're an
on a
overachiever,
fucking
bro.
roll.
I am. The story, it's a very cute and short story, though. There was a young black kid walking through a community, and he was going door to door asking people if he could mow their lawns because he wanted to save up money to get a PS5. So he was hitting up door to door with
Love
a
it.
lawnmower.
Love it.
It's doing it. Now, some neighbors didn't appreciate this.
What?
And they called the police. and it was
On a kid asking to mow
on
their
a
lawn?
kid asking to mow the lawn. It might have been racially motivated, which is terrible. But the story does end happy, I
Okay.
promise. So when the police were called, they showed up, they saw what this kid was doing, and they're like, you know what? This is a good kid. I don't know why the neighbor called that. So Officer Colleran, Officer Colleran went back to his apartment and he talked to all the police officers, and they actually all chipped in and got the kid a PS5. And he drove back out to the kid when he was like doing the door, and he came and he talked to him. He like put his arm around. He's like, "Listen, I know you've been doing that. Let me just walk you over here." And he opens his trunk, and the kid sees the PS5, and he's like, "Oh my gosh!" With everything that was going on with like, we love police. Most policemen are really great people.
Absolutely.
And this story just helps illustrate that like these are officers serving the community. This kid was trying to provide a service to his community. He got tattled on by some Karen lady, and the officer shows up with him and all of his buddies, and they all chipped in. And they're like, "Hey, you're a good kid. Keep it up.
That's amazing.
Here's a PS5. Keep mowing lawns
Yeah,
too."
shout out to all the officers and all of our active duty men and women out there. We have so much love and admiration and gratitude for you all. This is a super cool story. I love that this kid's out hitting the streets mowing. I love that he's putting in the work to go earn the money for the PS5.
He wasn't just asking for money.
Damn
He's
it,
like,
Mom! Give me the PS5 now!
Mom.
Come on, I want it
No.
now.
He's like, "I'll mow your lawn for money," which is
Yeah.
like, that's normal. Like, that's a
Yes.
great
I
question.
grew up mowing lawns for money as a kid, so I can relate to this kid. Good on him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably something that people don't do so much. I don't see a lot of kids mowing lawns today with it, but I remember
I
mowing
grew up
lawns
mowing
in the
lawns for
dead
money. Heck
of
yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's an underappreciated skill right there.
yeah.
Pretty soon we're gonna have fucking little AIs out there mowing the lawns for us.
Ooh, a Roomba lawnmower.
for the-
Those already exist, actually. Those have existed for a little while.
Roomba
Roomba for the
lawnmowers?
grass?
Well, it's not Roomba. I know that there is like some
But
Wi-Fi controlled
same-
lawnmower.
same-
Yeah.
Interesting. Very cool. No, I love the story. My first thought is like, I love the approach of the kid. That if you want something, go out and fucking earn it. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
that gets me fired up for sure.
Good dude.
And then
He's gonna get a good beard in his life for that.
yeah. And beyond that, just like good, like I don't know what I'm trying to say, but the whole thing is great. I'm just gonna leave it at
Yeah.
that. The
Yeah.
whole thing is awesome.
We hate that neighbor, but also it kind of worked out because the cops came and like we're like,
Yeah.
no, screw you,
Good
lady.
things happen to good people. It all worked out for the kid.
Yeah.
Fucking good on you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and then that lady's house burnt down by a complete accident. No, I don't. Allegedly, that's not true. I made that up.
You guys got any final thoughts or words for the guys before we sign off? You got any dad jokes for us?
Any dad jokes?
Any good jokes?
A half-finished bedroom set walks into a bar. The bartender says, "I'm sorry, we don't serve half-finished bedroom sets. You're gonna have to leave." To which the half-finished bedroom set says, "I was just looking for a one-night stand."
Ah.
But
Oh.
All right.
All right.
there you go.
Nice. There's a company here in town that has these like funky billboards, and there's like one
One-night
billboard that's
stand.
like one night stand, and it has like one night. I'm just looking for a one night stand, and it's like
It's got the one-night stand.
Yeah,
It's like a furniture reseller or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I've seen those.
Yeah, they have all these like punny sayings.
pretty
like
catchy,
that.
though.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about it. So, hey.
But all right, guys, that's it for today. If you have any questions that you want us to answer, you can drop a comment below this video or shoot us a message at ask@livebearded.com. Either way, we love hanging out with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Live Bearded exists because of you guys. So from all of us here, thank you. And as always,
Live bearded.
Bearded.